Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I wanted to do my follow-up on the MSI top lane presence tier list. So MSI is now over. It was a pretty interesting tournament. We really did not see a lot of variety across some of the roles. For example, ADC mainly saw four or five champions, I believe, as like a high presence, and then the rest were like one or two games. We only really saw Zeri, Jinx, Aphelios, and one other, I believe, Xayah, I forgot being. So overall, not a great MSI, very bad for like variance, but it was still interesting to see China dominate and how all those games went. So let's cover it. For top lane, there were a decent amount of picks, but for the most part, it was very much dominated by two picks, that being Cassante, which I didn't guess correctly. I actually guessed one tier beneath. So the way I'm going to do the highlight system is, if I was correct, I'll go green. If I was close, then I'll go orange, like one tier between. If I was pretty wrong, then I'll go red. And for champs, which just one straight up picked, I'll go purple. For champs, which did get picked, and I didn't expect them to get picked, I would just make them blue. So Cassante, one tier off, he had a 75% presence. Cassante was number one top laner at MSI. He seemed to do pretty well all round, high win rate, and a valuable pick. Kennen was picked for a 74% presence, and that I got correct. I thought we were going to see a decent amount of Kennen. He had been gaining in popularity. Didn't perform particularly well at MSI. I wasn't a huge fan of the Conqueror Riftmaker builds, but when he was going his Electrocute or Airy high damage Protobelt build, it worked quite well. So yeah, those are the thoughts on Kennen. Big gap then, and the next one was Gragas. So Gragas was picked had a presence of 49%. This doesn't take into account his jungle and his mid lane status, so Gragas all round had a very high presence, but for top lane, he had a 49% presence, so I was one tier off. That is unfortunate, but yeah, Gragas looked decent, had a really high win rate, really valuable flex pick. Probably maybe number one flex pick in the entire tournament. So yeah, lots of value there. The next one was Sion. Sion had a 46% presence. That's not Sion, that is on. But overall, Sion worked quite well as a tank, especially in the bot side of the meta. It was interesting to see the impact Sion had in diving bot lane and some of the creative ways the Sion pick was used. The next pick was Gwen. Gwen had a presence of 39%. I thought Gwen was going to have around that much presence. And Gwen works quite well into things like Cassante, things like Sion, things like Ornn. But then Ornn really did not see a lot of presence until later on into the tournament, which was very unfortunate. I thought Ornn would see a lot of presence considering he worked quite well as an option into a lot of the champions. So next one was Ahri. Ahri had a 36% presence. Someone played her top lane, which is why she is here. Overall, I didn't think Ahri was going to see any top lane play, so that was really interesting to see. I added Ahri on down here. Poppy had a 29% presence. She had a couple games in the jungle, but for the most part, she was played top lane. A decent amount of bans picked up. 29% presence isn't bad. I kind of thought she would have a bit less than that as like a niche counter pick to Ornn, but I don't even think she really was played that much at all into Ornn, but we were close with that one, so we will take it. The next one is Olaf. Olaf had a 28% presence. Majority of these were in bans. He got picked twice. He had 19 bans. Olaf, I thought, would see a bit more. Actually, no, I thought Olaf would see around that much play, and I ended up being right about that. So good to see a bit of Olaf. It was more of like a Broken Blade might play this kind of pick. Nah. Seen 11 times, banned 9 times, had a 26% presence. I kind of thought this would happen, and it did. Jax, 21% presence. Actually underpicked compared to where I thought he would be, Jax was quite popular going into MSI, and it was weird to see him not banned that much, and mostly just picked as a kind of comfort pick. But overall, Jax did quite well. Actually did quite poorly, in fact, 33% win rate. So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, but yeah, I thought Jax would see a lot more plays from people like Bin and 369 who have a bit of comfort on this champion. Malphite did not win any games. This was the running joke during the entire tournament. He had a 21% presence and he won 0 games. He did not seem to perform particularly well. Some of the people who played Malphite were just palmer missing ultimates. Like, it did not look like professional play when some of these people were picking this champion. Jace had an 18% presence. This is the one which surprised me by far the most. Jace, I thought, would have an insane presence going into MSI. I thought he'd be a really high value top and mid flex pick, but he ended up getting picked very few times. 2 picks, 12 bans. So Jace, 18% presence. That is not where I thought he would be. 50% win rate. He won one of his games, lost the other one in the top lane. Fiora picked 14%, or had a presence of 14%. Fiora worked quite well into things like Scion, works quite well into Cassante. Not a huge amount of people just egoing Fiora though, 50% win rate. So yeah, Fiora, a little less presence than I expected, but still picked a bit. Rumble had 1 game, 13% presence, got banned 9 times. I'm pretty sure he saw a game jungle and a game mid. Overall, Rumble I thought would see a bit more play than that, but 30% presence, that's kind of where I put him, so good to see a bit of Rumble. He was very strong going into MSI. Tristana saw a game in the top lane. So we were at Tristana on 11% presence, 1 pick, 7 bans. Ornn had 8 games. He was not banned once, and he had a 50% win rate. Some of the Ornn games looked pretty bad, but the champ looked really good. He should have definitely been played a lot more. It was very unfortunate to see Ornn in his really broken state picked only 8 times, and only towards the later parts of the tournament. Cassiopeia was played twice. I'm pretty sure both games were broken played, so that was good to see. Another champ who was also picked in the top lane was Yasuo. Who had a 5% presence. Banned 3 times, picked once. Renekton, I'm pretty sure Robo and Licorice were the people who were playing this. Was played 4 times, won 3 of the games, lost 1, 8% presence. I thought he would see a bit more presence in this. I didn't think the Brazilians would get knocked out as quick as they were, but overall, close with that one, so we'll take it. So Darius also picked 3 times, won one of his games, 8% presence. Thought he would be a bit less than that, but pretty close with that one as well. And Aurelia was picked once. I thought people would more often ego the Aurelia pick, but Aurelia wasn't egoed that much, so that was unfortunate. It lost the only game it was picked in. Karma had 1 game, so didn't expect that to happen. Karma top wasn't really played that much going into MSI. But there we had it, 1 game. And Rise also had 1 game. So those were the picks at MSI. Not a huge amount of variety, but not a lot you can do with that. A lot of these champs, which I thought would see niche games as counter picks, just didn't come out. We didn't see Robo Aatrox. We didn't really see any Gangplank. Akshan into Darius counter. Garen into Cassante counter. Pantheon wasn't played whatsoever. J4 as an answer to Cannon wasn't picked. Kled wasn't picked by G2. A lot of these picks were like more niche, and none of them were played, which was really unfortunate. The big one for me was Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath just didn't see any games at MSI, and he was decently popular going into MSI as well as one of the tanks, but I guess Ornn kind of took his spot as the tank, and we saw a bit more Scion, so I think that's kind of where it lies. No Azir top. I thought we'd start seeing a bit of Azir top. He was gaining popularity in solo queue. No Camille as an answer to some of the picks. No Yone either from people like G2. And yeah, those are the thoughts on the MSI top lane presence. Wasn't the greatest MSI, I've got to say, but I did like the new format. I think it had a lot of bonuses to it. But overall, picks were not very diverse. It was pretty stale. This bot meta where we were seeing primarily Jinx and Aphelios was getting kind of stale towards the end of the tournament as well. But hopefully, going into 13.10, which we've been in for a while, and with the 13.11 changes coming out tomorrow, we should really start seeing a lot more of a diverse meta, and hopefully we see some like maybe games where we see people playing towards top lane, as that would be something different and that'd be interesting. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.